Hello folks, welcome back to Marvelous Videos, where today we're diving deep into the world of Mojo, a fantastic and grotesque villain with plans of world domination. We're going to list 12 scariest facts about him, but before we begin, make sure that you've subscribed to this wonderful channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's get started. Mojo comes from a whole race of spineless dictators. In a dimension far, far away, there resides a race that resembles humans but is very different from us. These beings, called the spineless ones, are twice the size of humans, and as their name suggests, they don't have a spine. Because of this, they couldn't use their legs, and they atrophied. They became extremely obese due to their lack of movement. These yellow-skinned creatures have 4 fingers and no hair. This is the race that Mojo belongs to. As the most famous member of his race, his entire dimension is named after him and called the Mojoverse. Arise, a scientific genius born in this dimension, decided to send the creatures TV programs from Earth so they could be inspired by hardworking humans. This had the opposite effect, and the spineless ones went insane from the TV transmissions. Humans began to be known as mythical demons in Mojoverse mythology. Arise decided to give them artificially made spines and exoskeletons. Accepting these, the spineless ones began to technologically evolve. However, the power was held by a group of spineless ones who refused to accept the spines. They forced Arise to make slaves for them. Though Arise agreed, he made them resemble humans and gave them the ability to rebel against their masters. Soon, Arise was exiled for not complying with the orders of the spineless ones. Mojo has a television-based power system. All the spineless ones are addicted to television programs, so their entire government depends on who controls the TV programming. Mojo, a genius megalomaniac, became the leader of the spineless ones by controlling the television industry. This also gave him control over the slave trade, and he named the world and universe after himself. Mojo has a lot of powers. He can project anti-life fields that kill and force bolts that can disarm and subdue his enemies. He can control the minds of people and can teleport between dimensions. He's also a powerful sorcerer, whose magical knowledge is truly astounding. All these powers, however, are directly tied to the ratings his TV shows get. If the ratings get better, so do his powers, and if the ratings fall, he's as weak as a baby. He tried to enslave Earth. One of Mojo's humanoid slaves was Longshot, who was made by Arise using Shatterstar's DNA. Mojo used Longshot as a stuntman and pushed him to perform one scary stunt after the other. Longshot begrudgingly applied, but when one of the stuntmen named Jackson died due to Mojo's demands, Longshot decided enough was enough and stood up to Mojo. Mojo tried to have his memories wiped, so Longshot became a submissive slave once again. But he escaped to Earth instead. On Earth, he was shocked to see humans rule Earth, and he wanted to return to his dimension and inspire others to rebel against the spineless ones. He also fell in love with a stunt woman from Earth named Ricochet Rita. Mojo, wanting to quell the rebellion before it began, followed Longshot to Earth. On Earth, Mojo began to enslave human beings. But Longshot had allies on Earth. Dr. Strange and Rita helped him battle the authoritarian leader, and after Quark, a slave who was inspired by Longshot, rebelled against him, Mojo was forced to tuck his tail and run back to his own dimension. Mojo's goofy yet scary body. Mojo was created by writer Ann Nocenti when she was pursuing her master's degree in International and Public Affairs at Columbia University. While reading the works of media critics like Marshall McLuhan, Walter Lippmann, Edward S. Herman, and Noam Chomsky, Nocenti decided to create a character that would be an absurdist parody of network executives who care about nothing more than television ratings and the money they make. She instructed artist Art Adams to make the character disgusting and unpleasant, but somehow scary looking. And that's how the fat, ugly, and menacing villain was born. Mojo has paraphernalia all over his body, and he moves using a motorized platform. He has wires projecting from his head that control the platform and has devices that keep his eyes open. Recent renditions of the villain have armed him with a long, spiked cybernetic tail that is attached to his platform. He has long, menacing fingernails and a smile that could drive the strongest rays of sunshine away. Mojo aired a Howard the Duck reality show. Mojo has to constantly come up with new shows to entertain his viewers. After finding out about Howard the Duck, he decided to create a reality show about it. To make things more interesting, he hired the Sparkitects, Chip and Joe, to subtly influence Howard's life. He also kidnapped Leah Thompson, an actress from Earth, and erased her memories to have her portray Beverly Switzler, Howard's love interest. Mojo tried to cover his tracks by erasing Leah's memory of playing Beverly and returning her home, but she remembered traces of it and confronted him with Howard. When Mojo revealed his plans to them, Howard decided to take his revenge and lied to Mojo, convincing him that the Sparkitects had turned against him by revealing everything to Howard. In retaliation, Mojo attacked the planet of the Sparkitects, Sparkitron. Chip and Joe angrily confronted Howard, who himself was mad at the two for manipulating his life. A conflict broke out, and Chip stabbed Howard to death. Howard's assistant was devastated by his death, and had Mojo arrested for murder. Mojo begged his assistant Major Domo to get him out, but the android convinced him that the shows set in prison have better ratings. This might be a huge tongue-in-cheek joke by the Marvel writers, as Leah Thompson did play Howard's beau, Beverly, in the 1986 Howard the Duck movie, which flopped incredibly. Perhaps Mojo was the reason the movie was such a dud. Mojo created Spiral. Ricochet Rita, whose real name is Rita Wayward, accompanied her lover Longshot to the Mojoverse to help him defeat Mojo. That backfired, and she was captured alongside Longshot. Mojo wiped Longshot's memory so he didn't remember Rita, and the love that he had for her, leaving her to suffer in captivity. After she spent several years in prison, Mojo decided to put her to some use and had Arise perform experiments on her to make her into a faithful and loyal subordinate. Arise gave her 6 arms, gray hair, and forced her to evolve to the point where she could see past time and space. She was also trained in the magical dark arts and body modification, so she could convert people into mutilated assassins like her. In a cruel twist of fate, which is also a temporal paradox, Spiral was sent back in time to attack herself and set in motion the chain of events that led her to fall in love with Longshot. Even though she was loyal to Mojo, Spiral hated him, his cruelty and crass manners. Eventually, Mojo got bored with her and trapped her on Earth. Mojo created the XBabies and Mighty Avengers. During his brief stint on Earth, Mojo had been drawn to the power of the mutant warriors, X-Men, and wanted to have them as his slaves. He kidnapped a bunch of mutants like Shadowcat, Wolverine, Rogue, Storm, Colossus, Psylock, and Magneto, regressed them into children and brainwashed them. The New Mutants got wind of this and saved the X-Men. By this time, Mojo had created a TV show starring the X-Men, which was a massive success. When the X-Men left Mojoverse, Mojo's immediate concern was his ratings, which were bound to tank. One of his assistants suggested coming up with a version of the X-Men that could be controlled. Mojo liked this idea and made many versions of the X-Men, but decided to nuke all of them except one, the XBabies. He forced the imprisoned Rita, who had yet to be converted into Spiral, to take care of the XBabies. Since they were copies of the real X-Men, they rebelled immediately and left with Rita. Mojo managed to get them back by promising to free Rita. Insanity is defined as making the same mistake over and over again and hoping for a different outcome, and Mojo fits the definition. He kept making X-Babies till he had a replicant of every real X-Man. They grew so out of control that he decided to create child versions of the Avengers to get them under control, called the Mighty Avengers. They too rebelled against him and defeated him. Though they are currently under his control, there's no guarantee to say that they won't one day establish a democracy in the Mojoverse and get rid of Mojo once and for all. Mojo remade The Wizard of Oz with the X-Men. Desperate for views, Mojo once had the X-Men sent to his dimension by the teleporter Meek, and brainwashed most of them to create his own version of The Wizard of Oz. Longshot tried to keep the X-Men on the Yellow Brick Road, so that they could all meet the Wizard. Mojo got such a good rating from the show that he boasted about it to the captured Professor X. But you can never keep X-Men under your control for long, so they snapped out of their mental prisons to defeat the ugly TV executive and returned home to Earth. Mojo is a successful businessman in an alternate timeline. On Earth 1610, Mojo Adams is a television producer who lives on Genosha. He trapped the Longshot in his reality on an island off the coast of Genosha to film him being hunted by humans for his popular reality show. Just like his mainstream persona, Mojo Adams is only concerned with how his TV shows are running. One of the bright ideas Mojo Adams had was to execute the X-Men on live television. He hired Deadpool and his Marauders to bring him to the X-Men and imprisoned Professor X with a special inhibitor collar that disabled his abilities. He forced the professor to watch his students be executed, but his plans failed miserably, as Spider-Man was one of the captive members and he successfully foiled Mojo's plans. Professor Xavier, once out of the collar, got his revenge on Mojo. We don't know how, but we can assure you it was quite painful, as the X-Men and Spider-Man witnessed the TV mogul letting out a blood-curdling scream. Mojo was responsible for Psylock. Elizabeth Braddock, called Betsy in affection, is a mutant telepath who was blinded by the villain Slaymaster. Her luck only got worse from there, as she was kidnapped by Mojo and his slave Spiral. They gave her artificial eyes, and after mind-controlling her, named her Psylock. The eyes that he gave her were interdimensional cameras that gave Mojo content he could broadcast and increase his political and physical power. She was made to star in the show The Wild Ways, and was asked to lure in kids from all over the world for Brat Pack, his junior team. When the New Mutants broke into the Mojoverse to save the X-Men, they found Braddock and brought her back. She stayed in the school for a few years and was accepted as an official X-Man. Mojo spies on earthly kids for inspiration. As Mojo cannot keep coming up with new and interesting ideas to entertain his viewers, he often listens in on the imaginary games of earthly children. During one such voyeuristic visit to Earth, Mojo overheard a young boy named Bobby play pretend with his mother. Bobby's game was very interesting, as the boy had based his imaginary friends and foes on Japanese legends. Deciding that that would be a good show, Mojo had Bobby's fantasy created in a holographic reality. He had Bobby's mom kidnapped and held hostage by his fantasy's villain, the Oni Queen. But Bobby did not have to rescue his mom alone, as Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, came to help with the war machine. They heard a detailed breakdown of the fantasy by Bobby and entered the virtual world as Japanese warriors. They saved Bobby's mom, and Mojo wasn't even that angry about it, as ratings skyrocketed. Mojo signed a partnership with KCOA. This might seem scary considering KCOA is a modern utopia for mutants, while Mojo World is the exact opposite of that. After KCOA, the independent mutant nation, was established, Mojo began offering the mutants of the world a chance to gain fame by live streaming. This was, as to be expected of Mojo, a trap to get more ratings out of mutants. Though the mutants who volunteered gained celebrity status almost instantaneously, they were trapped in the Mojoverse with no way out. Winddancer, the mutant with the ability to control the wind, was the first to see a way out of her fame when her audience declared that they wanted to see her die on stream. She killed herself, and Mojo immediately had her body dissected, to create a clone of her for more entertainment. X Factor found out about this disgusting act, and they rescued her body, but Mojo was miffed about it and banned them from ever entering Mojo World again. The X Factor then infiltrated Mojo World with the help of the New Mutants and rescued all the streamers. In the end, Mojo was forced to sign a partnership with KCOA, which allowed him to continue his live streaming business, but with some strict conditions, and in exchange for providing his technology to KCOA. Marvelous verdict. Those were all the scary facts about Mojo, who would kill for content. Let us know if we missed any of the facts you liked, or knew about Mojo in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button, it really helps us out. And don't forget to stick around for some more awesome stuff coming your way. Catch you in the next one!